Liquid Swords has been quietly building something that might just be one of the most ambitious open-world projects in years. For a while now, we've known they were working on a big narrative-driven action game, but recently they finally shared the first ever in-engine glimpse. And it's the kind of footage that makes you stop scrolling and just watch. You can feel the grit, the atmosphere, the weight behind the world they're building. Founded by Christopher Sundberg, the creator of Just Cause and co-founder of Avalanche Studios, Liquid Swords was formed with a mission to make big cinematic games again. Sundberg has described the project as a hard-boiled revenge story set in an open world. And if that sounds like something pulled straight out of the best years of Rockstar's design philosophy, you're not wrong. There's a definite Grand Theft Auto 4 influence here, not in a way that feels like imitation, but in tone, pacing, and world building. From what's been shown, the game looks to bring that heavy, grounded energy that GTA 4 had, the feeling of a city that breathes, sweats, and hurts. Sundberg has been very clear that the story will sit at the center of everything, not just chaos for the sake of it, but a proper revenge narrative that ties directly into the mechanics, world design, and player choices. The player driving through a rain-soaked city, neon lights cutting through smog, street corners buzzing with tension. You can see vehicles being stolen, close quarters combat that looks weighty and brutal, and an overall visual style that screams grit rather than glamour. It's the kind of grounded tone we haven't seen much of lately in big open world games, where realism meets style. Liquid Swords' approach seems to be combining the open-ended action of something like Just Cause with the grounded storytelling of GTA 4. They've mentioned the game will be fully open world, using Unreal Engine 5 to push detail and scale, but also emphasizing density and atmosphere over sheer size. The world isn't about being massive for the sake of it, it's about being believable. Every corner, every car, every bystander looks like part of something broken, something real. And while this is their debut title, the team isn't new to making worlds feel alive. Many of the developers previously worked at Avalanche, contributing to games like Just Cause 2, Mad Max, and Rage 2, so they know how to build scale and chaos. But what they're aiming for now feels more mature. A story that's about people rather than explosions, while still letting players drive, shoot, and improvise their way through chaos. Thematically, it sounds like the story will revolve around a character seeking revenge in a collapsing city controlled by corruption and violence, where everyone has their own agenda and moral lines are constantly blurred. Think of it as Heat meets Drive, with a bit of Max Payne's melancholy thrown in. And the first footage matches that mood perfectly. Dim lighting, reflections on cracked pavement, close-up shots that show fear and anger in the same breath. From what's been gathered through developer statements and job listings, the game will feature full vehicle physics, a robust melee and range combat system, and reactive AI, suggesting that every encounter might feel unpredictable. It's not confirmed yet how player progression or missions will unfold, but the structure is described as open-ended objectives that can be solved multiple ways, implying a mix between linear story beats and freedom to tackle things however you want. There are rumors that this project began as early as 2019 when Sundberg left Avalanche to create something more personal, something smaller but bolder. He's called Liquid Swords' philosophy zero-nonsense game development, meaning less corporate red tape, more hands-on creation, and a focus on what actually makes games fun to play and meaningful to experience. You can tell that approach bleeds into every frame of what's been shown so far. Of course, this isn't a huge 500-person studio. Liquid Swords runs with a lean team of experienced developers who all wear multiple hats. They've been transparent about the challenges of balancing ambition with resources, even going through a round of downsizing earlier this year, but despite that, production continues steadily. The Unreal 5 Foundation allows them to iterate quickly and focus on detail rather than building everything from scratch. And that's part of what makes this project so interesting. It's a smaller studio taking on a genre that's dominated by massive companies like Rockstar and Ubisoft in how they're not afraid to make things slower, heavier, more cinematic. It's still early, but even with this first glimpse, there's something special here. A full gameplay reveal could happen sometime in 2026, possibly timed with a big showcase like Summer Game Fest. Right now, the priority seems to be polishing the core systems or driving combat and story flow before showing too much more. With what little they've revealed, they've already managed to capture people's attention. Between the GTA-inspired open world, the noir-driven revenge narrative, and the promise of fully dynamic, gritty gameplay, Liquid Swords might just be building the next big name in story-driven action games. If they can pull this off, balancing the chaos of open-world gameplay with the intensity of a personal revenge story. It's early days still, but the foundation looks strong, the vision is clear, and the ambition feels real. This is one of those projects you keep an eye on, because when it finally hits, it might just remind people why they fell in love with games like this in the first place. It feels like one of the few studios trying to bring back that edge games used to have, the kind of storytelling that isn't afraid to be raw, violent, and human. Not a Marvel-style action romp, but something that actually digs into revenge, loyalty, and consequence in a world that's falling apart. Some of the leaks and speculation surrounding the project hint at more than just street-level action too. Apparently, the story might take players beyond the neon-lit streets, into rural outskirts, industrial zones, maybe even the ruins of a city long past its prime. The idea seems to be to contrast those massive, noisy cityscapes with quieter, slower, more emotional moments. That's what makes the comparison to GTA 4 even more interesting, not because it's copying, but because it's tapping into that same tone of realism and moral decay that made Liberty City feel alive. It's also worth noting how far along the team seems to be. The footage shown wasn't just cinematic fluff, it was in-engine gameplay with working physics, AI movement, and proper environmental lighting. If that's what it looks like already, it's clear they've been refining it behind the scenes for a while. The city skyline, reflections on rain-soaked asphalt, the way light bounces off cars and windows, and for all the comparisons, it's still got its own DNA. There's something a bit colder about it, a bit more grounded in European sensibility, maybe a reflection of the team's background. You can imagine it having slower pacing, a heavier tone, and more weight to every punch, every decision. It's not about conquering the world, it's about surviving it. If you've been missing the era of open world games that told stories about broken people in believable worlds, this is one to keep on your radar. It's still mysterious, still wrapped in secrecy, but the ingredients are all there. A visionary team, a clear tone, and a hunger to make something that stands out. It also looks like they're trying to bring back that old school sense of physicality in games, where movement feels heavy, impact matters, and sound design carries as much storytelling weight as dialogue. It's a style that's fallen out of fashion in favor of faster, flashier combat, but there's still an audience that craves it. If the gameplay ends up matching the tone of this first look, it could hit that sweet spot between narrative depth and raw player agency. The truth is, we still don't know much about how this project will play or when we'll see more. But what's exciting right now isn't just what's on screen, it's that a new studio is genuinely trying to carve out a space for mature, story-driven open worlds again, the kind that don't rely on live service hooks or constant updates to stay relevant.